what I teach is the concept of from starting with Dr. Buss's concepts of evolutionary psychology and other evolutionary psychologists. Homo sapiens seek higher sexual selection and higher status.
On the tactical, I wanna get a couple tactical
Sure.
things from you. Dude, how do I get 8 women around me all the time?
And then there's the first 4 steps in MOA, which is your question. Step number 1 is to fix your social media. You need passable in all ratings in your social media. I give you 30 examples of perfectly curated social medias. No one cared enough to change society enough to where men could improve to where they would remain useful.
Welcome to the DV podcast, where we delve into the fascinating stories of inspiring people from all walks of life. In this episode, I'm stoked to introduce Michael Sartain. He's a podcast host himself, and he's an all-around incredible person. He actually founded a program called Men of Action. It's a mentoring program where he helps people build higher status in their life. As a retired captain of the U.S. Air Force, he's a true man of action and has developed an incredible life. So let's dive into his story and hear the crazy lifestyle he's had and how you can become a person of status. Dude, yeah, man, let's dive in. So,
Okay.
So, dude, who's Michael?
Oh, that's good. Wow, man. I still kind of see myself as an Air Force captain. Like when I was in the U.S. military from I think I was 26 to 33. I was in there for 7 years. And I think it probably changed me the most. It was probably the best decision I ever made was to join the military. I did it right after 9/11. I was working at a nightclub. I was working at a gentleman's club, actually. I was a manager. And I just one day after 9/11 happened, I had a degree. If you guys remember back in 2001, there was not a lot of jobs. We were going through like a mini recession. We had the crash of Enron and MCI WorldCom, and then we had the dot-com bubble, and then we had the crash of 2001 after 9/11 happened. And so I just went and I joined the military, and it taught me a lot about leadership. And during that time, I got into audiobooks, so I started listening to audiobooks
Nice.
all the time. Started to get through like 50, 60 audiobooks a year, and I like vaguely sort of got into the self-help community, and I started giving speeches back in 2008. And so probably from 2008 to 2019, I was just like I was invited to speak at different conferences and stuff and like coach for free. And it was nothing, I was working in finance. It wasn't anything I was doing professionally. And then I think 2019, it was this point where I was talking to this one guy, and he was saying something to the effect of, when guys invest in your program, they try so much harder, right? When they're watching a free YouTube video, a few people, but it's less than 5%, will actually like put a fire in their ass and actually go change their life, become a real estate agent, right? Fix their social media, get in shape, build a 7-figure business from free YouTube videos. It's a very, very small amount. But when people actually like invest money, I was talking to Cole Gordon. He paid one of his mentors $120,000. I had another buddy of mine who went to high school with me. He paid Grant Cardone $120. No, I'm sorry. First guy paid Cole Gordon, paid Patrick Bet-David $200,000 to mentor him. Another guy I know paid $120 for Cole Gordon to mentor him. And both of these guys came back to me and was like, "Yeah, I tripled my business. It was worth every penny." One of the things is like when we started this business, one of the things you can write off is continuing education, right? If you have your business, if you want to take someone else's course, you can write that off for your clients, right? Or you can write that off for yourself, like taking a sales course or something like that. So we started doing that. End of the year, we got to write stuff off, so we would like buy these courses. And the thing is, a lot of them are so incredibly helpful, but from the outside looking in, to a lot of people, they may look like, well, I don't want to pay that much money to learn how to sell real estate. But if you do, though, you're already in the top 1% if you do learn how to sell real estate from a course. Do you understand what I'm saying? I think that's probably kind of a big issue. It's like sort of like a scarcity mentality. And I was that way too. I was like never going to pay for anything. And then when I started doing it, I was like, man, you learn so much more this way. And these guys actually do have these secrets. And then you see this like rise of this coaching brand that has happened recently, where there's a lot of people who start podcasts and become coaches and create their own programs. The problem is that so many of them are scams that becomes problematic. But I think the internet can balance that out by the positive and negative reviews. I know one dude, this guy's a complete scam artist. He makes all of his clients, in order to continue the program, they have to give him a positive review in order just to get to the second part of the program. It's an utter and complete scam. And so he has these tons of.
Dude, that's the guy that our mutual friend is going through an issue.
I don't know what you're talking about.
I don't know.
I don't know anything about what you're talking about. But like that whole situation, when you do that, one of the problems that happens is like now he's got a bunch of positive testimonials. I have 50 testimonials that I have on my website and probably another couple hundred. in other places, but just on the funnel, on the sales page, there's just 50, just because it's too long after a while. They're video testimonials. And it's just one of these things where like, I feel like right now, if you try to start a business and all you did was just be normal and not try to scam people, like literally gave what you promised that you were going to give and don't overpromise. There's always this battle between fulfillment and sales, where fulfillment is like, I can't guarantee this. Why are you doing this? And sales is like, guaranteed in 60 days, 100% satisfaction. And then fulfillment's like, hey man, chill with that. Like let's actually like tell them they're gonna have to bust their ass. It's gonna be hard. Some of you aren't gonna make it. And sales is like, fuck that, no, 100% guaranteed And there's this balance that has to happen. And that's one of the things I do with my team is like, we're never gonna promise anything we can't do. And they've come to me with some wild, crazy ideas. And I was like, no, if we can't 100% fulfill this, then we're not going to put it in our ads. And that's one thing that's really been very helpful for me is like, and also just to be fair, I don't have millions of followers or millions of subscribers on social media because I don't do that. I don't overpromise anything. I have this very like moderate, realistic promise that I can get of the results I can get you. And then I have 600 clients that say, yes, what he said is true. And then that's it. That's what I do.
Dude, I mean, so I see the same problems. I call it the growth fulfillment paradox.
Yeah.
Like, dude, we're trying to grow the business, got to manage the business. So what we ended up doing was putting a onboarding specialist to bridge that gap.
Yeah.
So bring them in, recorrect expectations. So it's interesting that you experienced that same thing.
Yep. Shout out to Gashard. He's our onboarding specialist.
Nice, dude.
He was our first onboarding guy. I have 8 networking coaches. These guys are like coaches who they specialize in a different topic that they actually teach. Then I have onboarding coaches that once you buy the program, they're the ones who install, they get you on School. We use School. We don't use Kajabi anymore, Discord. We use School. And then I have guys, the setters and the closers on the sales team. Those guys also. And then I have a video editing crew and stuff like that.
Cool, dude. Yeah, so it's men of action, right? And high status lifestyle in 40 days.
Yeah.
What is that?
Is it 40 or 60? Is it 40? Maybe it is. I don't know. I thought it was 60 days. So what it is the concept of, so that's what we sell, right? That the advertisement is a bunch of...
You are the advertisement,
yes,
dude. You live and breathe this stuff.
Yes,
private jet, girls, nice cars.
Yeah, a bunch of so here's the funny thing. There's no private jet, and there's never nice cars. So this is...
That's the illusion though,
correct,
right?
Correct. No, you're not wrong. The thing is, in my videos, there's never private jets, there's never expensive watches, and there's never pretty girls. Because there's another thing I do that's different than other people, is I show you this lifestyle, but you can get it without spending money. This is like mind-blowing to I'm wearing an Apple Watch for a reason. Like I don't ever want to make this program seem like you need money to do this, because you don't. What I teach is the concept of, from starting with Dr. Buss's concepts of evolutionary psychology and other evolutionary psychologists. Homo sapiens seek higher sexual selection and higher status. So I understand that in myself, but when you start to understand that in other people, that's when you make $1 billion. That's when you understand, what do people on Amazon, what is Amazon really selling? They're not selling products. They don't really make money off those products. They're selling simplicity. I swipe, boop, and then the shit just shows up. It's just stimulus, boop, and then there's food and groceries and supplies in my apartment like the next day, right? That's what Amazon actually sells. They understand like humans are like lazy. They get this concept from evolutionary psychology. They grasp these ideas. A beer commercial, hot people, running, Michelob Ultra, you'll be high status. It's like, makes no fucking sense. If an alien looked at a beer commercial, they'd be like, this is the stupidest shit I've ever seen in my life. But humans, it's like, oh, they're attacking our limbic system and our amygdala at the same time, and they're making us buy this beer. When you have a clear, but all psychology is an evolutionary psychology, just to be clear. The concept that like all of our proclivities come from natural selection, and the survival scenario that we went through as Homo sapiens for the last 300,000 years, that's why we like sugar, salt, fat. That's why we like women with a certain hip to waist ratio. Women prefer men with a certain shoulder to waist ratio. Men prefer women with a certain facial features. Women prefer men with a certain upper body muscle content. When you start looking at these things, you start to understand all these proclivities come from natural selection. Now, when you start from that concept, then you start saying, so what is one of the proclivities that humans have? And this is the most important statement in the whole program. Networking is an evolutionary adaptation. Networking is an evolutionary adaptation. What makes us different from other animals is that we can work together to kill the gazelle. We work together to build the fence. We work together to build the structure. We work together to operate to protect the tribe. That makes sense? Mm-hmm. So when you understand that, then you're like, okay, what can I do in order to become better at networking. This is what Dale Carnegie figured out when he wrote How to Win Friends and Influence People. It's like, treat them all the same, make them talk about themselves. People like to hear their own voice. We start taking these ideas from networking and then applying them to everything. Now, one of those places is dating, which is what a lot of guys are very interested in, which is why so many people buy my program, is because I'm surrounded by beautiful women all the time. But that's more like, tell them what they want and sell them what they need. Sell them what they want and teach them what they need. That's essentially what I'm doing. I'm showing them, like, hey, by the way, if you can get a bunch of high status people and like huge female influencers to come to an event, getting a bunch of real estate agents to come to an event is very easy. Because if you can bench press 300 pounds, you can bench press 200 pounds. The reason why I teach it from the platform I do, which is like a bunch of like huge influencers, is because that's harder. That's playing Madden on all Madden mode. So that when I set it to rookie, it's a joke. Does that make sense? So I teach guys in the most difficult environment so that later on when they're like, okay, I want to host an event, throw an event, invite a bunch of people to another event, and then I want to get all these other people to come to my events, follow me on social media. I want to show my social media shows access to scarce resources and higher status. I want I want my physique to look this way. I want my social media to look this way. All these kind of things. When they do that, when they show those things from the outside looking in, you'll look at this person and be like, oh, this person looks like they're higher status, right? And it's very simple because what happens with men especially, not so much with women, with men especially, is that they'll have average social media profiles, which will make them look very low status. Men do not normally distribute like women do. There are women that are moderately attractive, exceptionally attractive, and not very attractive. There's like on dating apps, the top 10% of men on dating apps get 63% of the right swipes. The top 20% of men on dating apps get 83% of the right swipes. 80% of men on dating apps are deemed unattractive. So that you can take that same thing and extrapolate it to Instagram as well. 80% of Instagram profiles are men who don't know what they're doing. Lots of plaid shirts and out of focus photographs and drinking beer with guys. And like, why do you think women want to see this? Close-ups of the face, they look like Grindr profiles. It doesn't make any sense. Like they don't know what they're doing. And so when we understand these concepts of like always looking like your higher status, not fake it till you make it. And I'm not, again, there's no expensive, there's no Patek watch. There's no private jet, and there's no fucking mansion, and there's no nice car. We're doing other things. We're showing travel, physique. We're showing networking. Like one of the reasons
things you can control.
Yeah, things you can control. Again, building a social circle using money is easy. I could teach you that if you want, but like that's not very difficult. Getting friends because you have money, it's not difficult. Getting friends because you understand how to break rapport, you understand charisma, you understand value arbitrage, the connector, the suggester, the content creator. When you understand these concepts and you're able to build a network that way, it's more lasting, it's more durable, and you don't need money to do it. And so when I teach these concepts, for a lot of people, they have a hard time with it. Even me explaining it right now to a lot of guys won't make sense. Then they'll go to my Instagram and they'll be like, holy fuck, okay, I get it now. I understand. I didn't understand what he was saying, now I get it. Like for me, it's like I'm friends with several guys who are, a few of them are Fortune 500 CEOs, several billionaires. And then I'm also friends with like Dan Bilzerian. And then at my birthday were 54 girls that showed up and like 8 of them were playmates. And I'm not saying that to brag. I'm saying that because I created a lifestyle to where people want to network with me. People want to come into my circle. Most of my friends meet their girlfriends through me. Most of my guy friends get their jobs through me. Most of my friends meet sponsors for their events through me. Most of my friends connect with their other friends through me. I end up being like this hub and I teach other people to kind of do the same. You know who Dan Fleischman is? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Dan Fleischman. If Dan Fleischman taught a course how to be Dan Fleischman, this is that course. That's the best way to explain it.
Yeah, I mean, dude, his book should be called How to Throw an Event.
Yes.
Really, but
yeah. So Dan Fleischman will throw an event, and at the event, he'll invite a ton of influencers. This is what I love that Dan does. Dan will invite 10,000 girls and 100 guys, right? To get the ratio right. Because Dan understands what really attractive women want to see is really attractive women, what guys want to see is really attractive women. So he'll throw an event like that and he'll end up with a ton of people showing up. So like Dan, if Dan were to teach a course how to be Dan, this is the course. That would be probably the best way to explain it, right? Using influencer events, using social media, using connections, using collaborations with other people. Those are the things that we teach you. We have very simple steps to begin with, but it takes work. It takes work, and not a lot of work, but it definitely takes work. And for a lot of people, it takes them getting out of their comfort zone to say, okay, I need to fix, like, again, I'll just use Madden as another example. There's speed, awareness, agility, you know what I'm saying, catching, all these different attributes in Madden. Mm-hmm. And each one of them, some of them like Tyreek Hill would be low on strength, but high on speed, right? And then Terrence Armstead would be like high on strength and low on speed. Like, it would be different depending on the size of the player. I want everyone to be up at a 90 in all the attributes. Does that make sense? So it's physique, and does my social media look right? And do I have this correct network? And am I building this business? And what are the books that I'm reading? Like all these parts, we try to fix and get it up to at least a 90 in all those different categories. For some people, that's hard. For some people, that's definitely getting them out of their comfort zone. But I mean, after the 500th client I've had that had success, I was like, okay, this is something that we can continue to do and replicate.
Dude, so these guys that are posting plaid shirts, flannels, they're drinking beers, like close-up photos, do they don't know what to do, or they just don't know? Yeah. Like they literally don't know what the system is.
So there's 3 genders. Ready? LBGTP are going to get mad at me. There's 3 genders. Ready? Here's the 3 genders: high status men, low status men, women. Those are the 3 genders. High status men and low status men have nothing to do with each other. They don't live the same lives. They have different life expectancies. They have different numbers of sexual partners. They make a different amount of money. One low status men have a scarcity mentality. High status men have an abundance mentality. I'm not saying high status men are good people. Some of them are shitty people. But high status men, high performers, they just live a completely different lifestyle. They don't have a little bit more financial options and sexual options than low status men. They have 100 times more. In fact, you might say all of the options are in this low status top 20% of men category, right? So what happens with these guys is that the ones that are, most of us are just born, unless you're born into money or you have extremely charismatic parents or something like that, you're just born into a situation where you're like low status, and women want you to quote unquote figure it out. They want you to figure it out, but they're not going to figure it out for you. You understand, if you and I were in Des Moines or some other city, Wichita, wherever, and we go out, there's some people out having fun, good-looking people are out having fun, having a blast. We're not invited though, because they don't know us. We're not invited. Like in general, if you don't get it, then the world isn't going to teach it to you. They're not going to teach you to get it. Does that make sense? If you're a low status man, guys are having a party where it's 7 girls to every guy, and they don't want you there. They don't want you to come. They don't want you to fucking know about it. If you go on Google and search high status party, you're never going to find it. If you go right now and go on Google, what's the best strip club in Las Vegas? They're going to tell you it's Chicas Bonitas or fucking Sonia's. But we all know it's CH3, the Rhino, and Sapphire. But you're never going to see it. The world's never going to tell you where the high status shit is. You have to figure out a way to do it. So these men are clueless, but it's not their fault that they're clueless, because their whole life they've been raised on this phone. They don't have personal interactions. They can't maintain eye contact anymore. They've never been in a fist fight. They don't know how to talk to a girl. There's just these little basic things. And when you pick on them, they cry. When you pick on them, they report your account and try to get you deleted. That's what happens. When you just josh them a little bit or make fun of them. They're just so fragile. These such fragile individuals. And so you put them on there on social media and they just never got it. And their paradigm for what success is, they learned from Disney and their church and their family, who don't understand how to talk to women or how to be financially successful. With some exceptions. If you have a father who was like an incredible entrepreneur and who was just a killer and just absolutely a killer sales guy, stuff like that. If you have somebody like that, for sure, that's a difference. But for most of us, that wasn't the case. Most of us, we got participation trophies. That kind of participation trophy lifestyle leads to men not knowing what to do on social media. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense. Yeah, and do you think that this is an intentional direction that men has been shifted in, or you think it's just like a byproduct of culture changing over time?
So this is an interesting question I'm going to discuss with Richard Reeves on Friday. He's coming on my show. He's a senior fellow at the Brookings Institute. He wrote a book called Of Boys and Men, where he goes over what different political policies have done to men and women over the last, since say 1975. So in 1975, the college admissions, it was 13 percentage points higher for men than women, and now it's 15 percentage points higher for women than men. We fixed the problem, but gone far in the other direction. There are more female pilots in the U.S. military than there are male kindergarten teachers in the United States. 5% of psychologists under the age of 30 are men. 5%. So what's happened is, because a lot of these manufacturing jobs disappeared, a lot of these sort of male-oriented jobs sort of disappeared, those men never got into nursing or education, whereas women who were mainly in nursing and education, they became lawyers, doctors, several of them became engineers. And so women started taking over this male-dominated area, but men did not do the same, and a lot of their jobs went away. So you ended up with a lot of higher unemployment for men. You ended up with men killing themselves, like at incredibly high rates. Men who are divorced, who live in their 40s and 50s, after a divorce are like 9 times more likely to commit suicide. These things, do I think they're intentional? No. What I think is when you deal with identity politics, if I am this color and this gender, I'm going to go to the government and say, I want money for my color and my gender, and not for that color and that gender. And I have no empathy for them. If you do that enough times, you end up in a situation where you're going to leave some people behind. And in general, men, and more specifically African-American men, they've been hurt the worst out of anyone. In these situations, they're the ones who are like kind of being left behind as far as the workforce, as far as the family, and as far as education is concerned. Do I think it's nefarious and like conspiratorial? I do not. I think it is negligence. I think it's a function of negligence, and it's a function of, there's a great book. One of my favorite books is called Conquering the Sociopath Next Door by Dr. Martha Stout. And in the book, she talks about this thing called corporate sociopathy. It's so fascinating when you think about this. You can substitute a corporation for the government. Either way, it could be the same thing. You take a bunch of empathetic people and you put them in a corporation, which is a legal fiction, right? But it's treated like a person. You put them in a corporation, and each one of these people, they pay their taxes, they walk their dogs, they love their children. These are normal, empathetic people. But in the course of being inside of the corporation, they only have to worry about shareholders and keeping their job and then competing with other corporations. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. So in total, their behavior acts as a sociopath. There's no empathy for anyone else. Individually, they're empathetic people. In total, they're like, I will do this and I get a golden parachute for $100 million. And if I don't do this, I'm fired. I am incentivized to act as a sociopath. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. So it's called corporate sociopathy. The government is the same way. What I think has happened is you have certain political entities that are like, I want money for my group and have no empathy for another group. Does that make sense? And then of course, like the most protected class would be Anglo-American men, right? That would be, white men would be the most protected, or I'm sorry, the most privileged class under their guise. So there's no money set aside for them. And that works to a certain extent if they have the advantage. But once you get to a point where they don't have the advantage anymore, now you get to a point where 60% of college enrollment are female, 68% of the graduates are female. You are twice or 2 or 3 times more likely to get a master's degree if you are a white woman than a black man. Like things like this, and this, I'm not hateful, and I don't think it's intentional, but what's happened is we swung things so far in the other direction that we've gotten to the point now where you have a bunch of men who they don't get it. They're on social media posting weird shit. 1/3 of men under the age of 30 have no sex. 1/3 of men under the age of 30 have 0 sexual partners. 68% of Christian men.
Like they've never had sex, or they're not actively engaged?
No sexual partners within the last year. Is how the study's done. 33% of men. The concept of, I forgot what the other one was, but there's so many just crazy concepts that you can see where not all men. So like I said, high status men, low status men, like the pay wage gap. The pay wage gap is a real thing amongst the highest group of men. Of the Fortune 500 companies, I believe 44 of the Fortune 500 are led by women, right? But Fortune 500 CEOs account for less than 1/1000th of 1% of the population. This is not a normal statistical distribution. Amongst the highest strata, men dominate, unquestionably. All of our presidents, CEOs of companies, professional athletes, actors get paid more money in the highest strata. Amongst the middle class, women have absolutely caught up, and in a lot of cases, they've passed men. Amongst the middle and lower class stratas of men, the wealthiest, the smartest people alive today may be men, but the dumbest people alive today may also be men. There's one study that shows that if a man runs a corporation, you're more likely to make a profit or go bankrupt, right? Whereas for a woman, it's like in the middle standard deviation. So we're just in this weird place right now where it's like we have a bunch of men who like don't have a place. They're like, they don't have a family. Nobody wants to marry them. I have women come on my show every other Thursday called Access Vegas, and we ask them these just basic sociological questions. What does the average man make? And of course they all go $150,000 a year. It's $36,000 a year.
I wonder if you ask that question to lower status women, right? Like what
no, there is no lower status woman. Remember I said high status men, low status men, and women. There is no lower status woman. Because
in that context, are you inviting a 6 and 7 onto the show?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, but
you are?
Yeah, for sure.
2s and 3s?
2s and 3s. See, I don't judge women like that. That would be tough. I invite a lot of, the women tend to be exceptionally attractive on the show, for sure. But do
you think that a lower, like a 2 and a 3, they have a different perspective?
No, because I'll show you the studies with them too, and it's the same thing. They refuse to date men under 6 feet tall. It's not 2s and 3s are the same, bro. They act the same. If you look at the distribution of desired height amongst women on dating apps, it goes at 6'3" is the peak. That's the most. By the way, ladies, 1% of the population is 6'3". This blows women's mind because they've had sex with so many guys who are 6'3".
What are you, 6'3"?
No, I'm 6'2". Right. So 6'3", and then 14% of the population is over 6 feet tall. Once you get to 5'11", boom, it just drops off. This doesn't happen in Europe because they use centimeters in Europe. But in the United States, where we use the imperial system, it just drops off. Everyone wants every girl wants a guy who's 6 feet tall, but 5'11", no, I won't even. That's friend zone. And it's not 10s and 9s, bro. It's 2s and 3s that believe this too. It's like when you ask them, what's the average height of a man in the United States? I had one girl come on and say 6'2". It's 5'9", or 5'10", somewhere around there. The average income is like $36,000 a year. And like now, so what do we have? We have 68% graduation rate for women. They're getting into they're becoming lawyers and doctors. And by the way, I am all for the egalitarian nature of women having freedom. Any socioeconomic group or any gender or any race having full and total autonomy to do whatever they want. I am fully in favor of that. But there's consequences. And in this case, what's happened is you have a bunch of women who are making $200,000-$300,000 a year with a college degree. And women with college degrees, you know who they don't want to date? Men that don't have college degrees, which there are fewer and fewer of because Grant Cardone and these other guys are like, college is a piece of shit. You don't want to go to college. Here's the funny thing about college. For the highest level entrepreneurs, Jeff Bezos and for fucking Mark Zuckerberg and Bill Gates, college is unnecessary. These people are incredibly intelligent and they're unbelievable entrepreneurs. For the middle standard deviation of men, you are going to make more money if you go to college than if you don't. Period. Just don't go to an expensive college. You can get a college degree right now, Touro University online or fucking the University of Phoenix, okay? You will make more money with a college degree than not, but we're telling men don't ever get a college degree. Some men should not get a college degree. If you're LeBron James, you can wait on the college degree. The rest of you need to probably consider going to college. That's what's happened. And what we go online and we just see these coaches, and I'm guilty. I'm one of these guys, but I've never said this specifically. Like, oh, skip college, forget all this. Just go start your own business. When you like, we can't all start our own business. At some point, someone has to buy from the business. At some point, like. Someone is stocking the shelves at Walmart. Someone is working at Chick-fil-A through the drive-thru. Somebody is doing that. And so we have these guys on YouTube. It's like, don't start your own business. Do this today. Skip college. And I'm like, that works for a small group of men, but not all men. And it's becoming unhealthy. And we're just end up in this situation where we have these very masculine, somewhat masculine, not super masculine. We have these masculine men who are like coming to date a group of women, and these women don't need these men. They don't need them. Remember, I'm fully in favor of women having the ability to out-earn men, do whatever you want. Some women are geniuses. Some woman outside someday will cure cancer. Unbelievable. But the problem is that doesn't make her more attractive to men. And it doesn't make her need men more. And we just end up with this evolutionary mismatch. Marriage rates are plummeting because of this. Divorce rates are skyrocketing because of this. And 78% of divorces are initiated by women. And once a man is divorced and he's in his 40s, he's 9 times more likely to commit suicide. So these are the kind of things that we talk about. I know you got in asking me the original questions about the program. The program for men is to get you in that top 10% as far as how you look on social media, your business, your physique, all these things. Get in the top 20%. It's never been easier to get in the top 20% than it is right now because the world is training men to be normal and average and boring. To get in that top 20%, if you do anything extraordinary, you're automatically there. It's just not that difficult. You just post every day on social media, you're in the top 20%.
Yeah.
You understand? So many guys I talk to right now, they're like, yeah, I don't want to have an Instagram. And I'm like, I don't know what you think. You're going to go to the mall and meet your wife. Like, that's not how the world works anymore. It's not 1985. There's just so many mismatches and so many people who just will not come along. For attractive women, they have nothing to worry about. It's all worked out for them until they get to the point where they're in their late 20s, early 30s, and now they're competing with 23-year-old versions of themselves, and they're not getting the same response from men that they were getting before. These men still want to have sex with them, but they don't want to settle down with them because there's the 23-year-old who's over here who's like a younger version of the 28-year-old. And now women are now complaining, where are all the good men? How come these men are all I'm 33 and I have a kid. When are these men going to step up and take care of me and my kid? That's what's happening now.
And where are those men?
Where are those men? You know what I'm saying?
But where are they?
But you didn't want them. You meet them all the time, but these women don't want these men. You know why? Because they're 5'11" and a half. because they don't make 70,000, they make 65,000 a year. They don't make enough money, and they're not tall enough, and I'm not going to settle because Cardi B told me not to settle.
It's
Because
unrealistic expectations.
Nicki Minaj told me to be a bad bitch. That's the reason why I'm not going to settle. I need my man. He's 6'3", makes $500,000 a year, and he's going to come take care of me and my kid. That's what's going to happen. And we get into these unrealistic expectations. And when you ask women, they're like, "Would you rather be single or date a guy who's short?" They're like, "I'd rather be single." It's crazy, bro. Yes, and the reason why is because social media. Social media has gotten us to the point where women have visual access to all these unrealistic scenarios, but they're not unrealistic. A girl who's moderately attractive can slide into a celebrity's DMs, and if he's bored, he'll have sex with her. It happens all the time. Leonardo DiCaprio was like notorious for banging all these young chicks in Los Angeles. Hundreds of them. Have you ever heard the stories? He like literally would like put headphones on while he's having sex with girls. Like he'll have, you want to message Leo, he might hit you back and have sex with you. For these women, they're like, well, I had sex with Leonardo DiCaprio, therefore that's what I deserve. My husband needs to be at that standard. $50 million a year, famous, like anything less than that. Oh, this guy, he's 5'8", done. No, I'm friend zone. Like that's what happens, and you have these incredibly unrealistic expectations. For men too, by the way. Men to a certain extent do too, but men it's kind of the opposite. Like they're dating a stripper who's like very physically attractive, and they think she's gonna settle down and change for him. That's not gonna happen either. Men are just as delusional, don't get it twisted. But you know, but that's just, that these intersexual dynamics are part of the things that we go over in the program. And the other thing that's like really important to understand is there's a wonderful book by Ashley Meir. She's a doctor at Boston University. And she says that she went undercover as like a model for like a couple of years. She would go to nightclubs. She was a runway model who got her PhD in sociology, and she goes to nightclubs. Even though she was like 31, she looked like she was 25. So she would go out with all these different nightclub promoters in New York every night. And one of the things she said was that when we were in the Hamptons, there were men who were actually doing huge business deals and meeting other men in the Hamptons, and their ticket to get into every party was what?
I don't know. Followers?
Having hot girls with them. That was it.
And that's the way clubs are, right? Like if you go in.
That's the way. Hold on, that's the way everything is. Dude, I go out. Sometimes I go to like. I remember I went to Ty Lopez's speech one time and I showed up with 6 girls. The whole room got quiet. Ty came right up to me right afterwards. If you have it like, it's shallow as it comes off and seems. It's like there's this status that comes along with not just attractive women, high status men too. But like when people see this, they're just more likely to buy your product.
Yeah, but the thing is, and the thing about that is you can't fake that. You can fake followers,
Yes.
you can fake money, you can
Correct.
rent a car.
Yes.
You got 6 girls with you. That's as real as it gets.
You could have paid them, and by the way, some people will accuse you of that when it happens, but it's not true. Like when you see it happens, when you see compliance like that, for whatever reason, a trigger goes off in people's heads, and other people want to network with you and want to invite you to things. I get it. I'm not gonna lie. I get invited to like dozens of podcasts a week, and the reason why is because they see the girls on my IG. I'm sure they like some of my content too, but like that's one of the main, especially in the beginning, before I had a podcast. I would get invited on places all the time, and that would be the reason why. And the thing is, like, it's really crazy when you just see humans as hairless murder apes. This veil you get to see peek through the veil, and you can actually see this is what stimulates people to buy, to be persuaded. This is what stimulates people to see other people as high status. When you do that, man, it's just like the world becomes so much easier to navigate. You know what I'm saying? Still maintain your. I'm not recommending you do anything more immoral, and under no circumstances do you lie. We do not lie in my program. There's no lying. What we do is we recommend. No, like I don't even like fake it till you make it. I don't want you to take pictures that make you look in better shape. Just get in better shape. I don't want to make it look like you travel. Actually, fucking travel. But when you do it, take pictures of it. Show it, display your interesting life in a cool way. You don't have to be a billionaire. This is really important. You don't have to be wealthy to have an interesting life. You can have a very interesting life without being wealthy. You can have a very interesting life, but with just having a basic understanding of how to use, photography. Photography and videography is so powerful in order to share a story that you're an interesting person. Then people want to network with you. They want to invite you to things. That's another thing as I teach my guys is just like they have incredible levels of access to like. They get invited backstage to the TEDx conference. They get invited backstage to the CES event. They get invited on stage to Electric Daisy Carnival. And they also get invited to the Playboy Mansion. You see what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. But here's the thing. The skill set to get invited to the Playboy Mansion and the skill set to get invited to the TEDx, it's the same skill set. That's the part that blows people's minds. It's the same skill set. Like you and I, let's say you and I wanted to get in front of a venture capitalist, right? And then Jake Paul wanted to get in front of a venture capitalist. Who would get in front of it before?
Yeah, probably not us.
Jake Paul, right? But like, let's just say we were venture capital. We literally were in that industry. Jake Paul would still get there before us. Why? Because he has status. He doesn't have venture capital status. He just has status, period. Do you understand? If The Rock wanted to try to get some resolution passed in the House and the Senate, or we tried to, who would have a better chance?
Yeah, so status outranks everything else.
The Rock would literally make a tweet, and then you'd have some congressman trying to propose it on the House or the floor of the House, because he doesn't have political status. He just has status. When you start to realize status is status is status, it makes so much more sense. It's not just having status to pick up girls. It's like having status for everything in your life. And it just makes sense. So we go back to the original thing I said, which is that networking is an evolutionary adaptation. When you grasp that concept of networking being an evolutionary adaptation, then the rest of it makes sense. You just kind of know what to do. You understand people's proclivities, people's motivations, right? Motivation is really simple. When you look at motivation through the lens of evolutionary psychology, all of it makes sense. It's so simple.
So, dude, I was going to ask you on like what you thought, what the fundamental part of the status is, girls, money, but I think I'm understanding it to be the displaying the perception of status to the world, and not just the perception, but the truth of it,
yes.
right? But presenting that. All the other aspects, I don't think does it really matter if it's girls or if it's...
No, we have so I have several. So again, I'm selling a product. Yes, girls, they sell the product very well. Like we've tested several different advertisements.
Is girls the best?
The one with the girls does the best. There's no fourth wall in my program. I'm telling you guys right now, we've tested several different ones. The ones with the prettiest girls sells the most, moves the most product. But no, the thing is, instead of asking that question, consider your ancestors 50,000 years ago that lived in a tribe that were constantly, like, there were food shortages, there was the fear of drought, and there was fear of predators, and there were fear of other humans coming and killing them, right? Mm-hmm. Who would you look to for leadership? The man with the broad shoulders and the deep voice who looked like he was comfortable doing a fair amount of violence. Look at who the women find attractive now. Brock the bartender, who's 6'3" with tattoo sleeves, who looks like he's capable of committing a fair amount of violence. What I'm saying is these feelings that we have, or like do you notice all of our presidents are 6'3", 6'4"? Yeah. Like, why is that? Why are we listening to these men? All of them have tremendous speaking voices, well, at least the ones we've heard on TV. They have tremendous speaking voices. They're all great orators and incredibly charismatic. Why do we choose these men as leaders? It's not an accident. It's not because of like cultural conditioning or racism. It is a function of our ancestors would look for certain traits in people to be their leaders, right? When we look at, when you consider it from that standpoint, who are the guys with the high status? The ones that were bringing the gazelle back home. The most productive and competent men were the ones who got the prettiest wives because they had the most status. So when you break it down to that, it makes sense. Now, a lot of people are going to listen to this. They're going to be extremely turned off by this entire conversation. No, Michael, I like to stay at home. I want to be myself. This doesn't feel organic. That's fine. You can be yourself. You can be organic. You can do that. I think my clients are just a little bit more ambitious, and that's the reason why they seek me out. If you're not ambitious, well, what a great life to live. Like, you guys can get antibiotics. You guys can fly on an airplane and go 500 miles an hour for like less than $1,000 anywhere, almost anywhere in the country you want to go. There's so many. You can go to McDonald's and eat carbs till you die. Like, there's endless carbs. Your ancestor who was like low status, he was starving for food. He was trying to find food and probably died before the age of 30. Okay? You can live in a trailer park and eat French fries till you die. You don't have the same problem that he had. He has an incredible evolutionary mismatch. You understand?
Yeah.
So like that's where the ultimate difference comes, is that the signs that we see for like higher status people, they come from our ancestors. We just see those things. By the way, there's no money in the ancestral period. So what is the analog for money? It's competency. Money is a symbol of competency. And it's a symbol, by proxy, it's a symbol of status. That's why people like individuals with money. It's not just women, by the way. I know some people will be like, oh, women like money. No, men like money too.
Yeah.
Right? Men like hanging out with men who have money also, right?
And men like, well, I mean, I got a buddy my age who's dating someone 3 times his age.
Yeah. Who's super wealthy.
Yeah.
Again, while I do believe that is the case, that's outside the standard deviation. That's not normal for most men to date rich women, but sometimes it does happen. 95% of the time, when women are wealthy and men are wealthy and they get together, it's his money is our money and her money is her money. That's generally how it works. It's generally not her money is our money. That's not generally how it works. So yeah, that's the way that generally works. And so like if you were to look at these signs from your ancestors, what were the things that made them high status? And then you look at the signs for things that make people high status today, it's the same thing. And it's all the same status. It's not different types of status. It's just so crazy. Like when you think of another great example, Adam 22, from No Jumper, you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
No Jumper is one of the biggest podcasts in the world now, right? Adam 22 is a fucking porn star. He has tattoos on his face. I guarantee you if Adam 22 wanted to meet the governor of California, he'd probably say yes. That's how popular he is. Adam 22 can go to any party I met him the other day at the AVN. He can go to any party he wants. He's a porn star. But because his podcast is so big, the opportunities for him are fucking endless. Because it's not porn star status. Status is status is status. When you grasp that concept and you start understanding there's no good guy status and bad guy status. When I was growing up, there was the Iron Sheik and Hulk Hogan. Hulk Hogan was good guy status and the Iron Sheik was bad guy status. That is all gone. Don't believe me? Go watch Wolf of Wall Street. Do we hate Jordan Belfort now or does everyone love the guy? I'm not fucking leaving. Does everybody joke? When you look up Quaaludes, who's the first guy you think of in the entire world? Jordan Belfort. But you know how many tens of millions he's made from his sales course that he's made since he got out of prison? He's fucking famous as shit now. If Bernie Madoff made a sales course, we'd all buy it.
Yeah.
Nobody cares. Dude, Billy McFarland, who threw the Fire Festival, he went on Nelk Boys the other day.
Yeah, he's
doing
out
an interview.
promoting his new product now.
He's promoting a new product.
And you can scam people, you can do this stuff and go to jail.
The fucking Tinder swindler has a coaching program now. Like you think there's different kinds of status. If this makes you sad for humanity, you should be. You're right, it's terrible. But it's still the world that we live in. There's not church status, corporate status, good guy status, pageant girl status. There's not. And then there's criminal status, porn star status. No, it's just one kind of status now. It's all jumbled into one. And that's it. When you come to that realization, then you're like, oh, now I understand. The same skill set that I need to meet the woman of my dreams is the same skill set I need to get the job of my dreams. Holy shit, I didn't realize that. And now once you come to that realization, then the course makes so much sense. And now then you open your eyes to the books of David Buss, Cindy Meston, Steven Pinker, Gad Saad, those people, evolutionary psychologists, Stephen Stuart Williams, Jeffrey Wilson, those type of individuals. You're opened up to this understanding of like our motivations simply do come from these were the things that helped our ancestors survive, so these are the things we want now. If you were to ask average people, dude, what are you more afraid of? Your car, here's your car, and here's French fries. Got it right here? And then over here is sharks, tigers, scorpions, snakes, and crashing in an airplane. What are they gonna rank? Well, I'm most afraid of spiders, snakes, fucking sharks. Your car, that thing you drive every day, that death trap that you're in where you're texting and doing your makeup at the same time while you're going 75 miles an hour down the street, you're 100,000 times more likely to die, 100 million times more likely to die in that thing than from a shark. But you're more afraid of sharks. That's called evolutionary mismatch. That's what that is. So where does that come from? Why on earth? Well, it's because our ancestors had a necessity to be afraid of sharks. Our ancestors really did need to be afraid of snakes. They lived out in the wilderness. That's the reason why. And our ancestors really might have fallen off of a mountain and died, right? I have a balcony over at Panorama Towers. That's why I don't fall off the edge. You know what I'm saying? So that's the reason why. So we have this massive evolutionary mismatch, and all of our proclivities come through evolutionary psychology. There is no psychology that's not an evolutionary psychology. And the opposite viewpoint of that is what's called the blank slate belief, which is the idea that like your heterosexuality is just a social contract. You only like women because someone taught you to. And you only like skinny, attractive women who are in shape. The only reason you like that is because that's what you saw in Victoria's Secret. So if Victoria's Secret started having different body types on there, you would be attracted to those body types. You and I know as men that's not true.
Right.
But they're not us. They're not men with high test levels. They don't realize that. My sexual proclivities are not a social construct. They are a function of genetics and biology. That's very offensive to some people. And so that's what I would say. You're saying what I say is controversial? No, what I say is scientific. And what is scientific is when you say things that are scientific, that becomes controversial to some people.
Dude, so I love that.
Yeah.
On the tactical, I wanna get a couple tactical
Sure.
things from you, dude. How do I get 8 women around me all the time?
So number one, the first 4 steps in MOA. If you guys go to, I'll give you the link for it. If you go to my school server, it's a new thing. It's SKOOL.
Yeah.
It's kind of
Sam Ovens made it.
correct. Yeah, Sam Ovens. Cole Gordon is an investor in it also. School is our replacement for Discord. And also, we don't use Kajabi anymore. We post our videos on School now.
What's the price structure on it? Is it similar to Discord and Kajabi, like $100 a month, or is it a high ticket thing?
For School? Oh, it's
Yeah.
high ticket, yeah.
So you got to pay like $5K to use School.
For the free one, it's free. So there's MOA Forum, which is free, and then there's the
Like,
MOA
could someone
course.
watching this go create a course there for $100 a month and put their course?
Well, I
on
don't
School?
work for School.
No. I understand, but I'm saying as a user, do you know what just out of curiosity, you're really hyping up School. Like, it's a
I
great
don't
platform.
know. That's a good question. I don't even know what we pay for it. That's our tech guy handles this.
Yeah,
Because we moved, like I was kicking and screaming. I didn't want to leave Discord, but we went on to School and now I love it. Like School is amazing because Cole was the one who advised us to do it. But when you go to the School thing, there's going to be a few things that win the forum and the free group. One of them is going to be Instagram testimonials. One of them is going to be books. One of them is going to be the 6 rules of MOA. Like rule number 1, we don't listen to the words. We only pay attention to people's actions. That's rule number 1 in MOA. And then there's the first 4 steps in MOA, which is your question. Step number 1 is to fix your social media. You need passable in all ratings in your social media. I give you 30 examples of perfectly curated social medias. Some of them don't have any women in them. Some of them have a lot of women. Some of them have nice cars. Some of them have no cars. There's generally a lot of travel going on. Mine in particular has a lot of podcast stuff in it. But we show you 30 like perfectly curated social media accounts. So step number 1 is to make yours look like that. Step number 2 is to build a list. So like some people would have a dream sheet of all the people that they want to, I want 6-pack abs and I want to have an 8-figure company, and they put it up on the refrigerator, the little dream sheet, right?
Yeah, I got one. I got one this big.
For sure.
Yeah.
But imagine a dream sheet, except it's people you just want to network with. So for me, it might be owner of the Raiders, mayor of Las Vegas, right? These are all the people you want to network. And then on this side is 2,000 female influencers that you want to come to your events. So step number 2 is to build a list. So just like a dream sheet, except it's a dream sheet of people you want to network with. Step number 3 is to find 6 events to invite those people to. By the way, you don't follow them. I'm not telling you to follow them or even message them until you get to step 3. Step 3 is to find 6 events to message them to. So you could do a charity gala, or you could do, hey, we're all going to go see Deadmau5 on Saturday night, or you could go, we're going to go to the Babes in Toyland charity, or we're going to go to the Met Gala, or we're going to go to Electric Daisy Carnival, or we're going to go to Excess on Sunday night, or what. It doesn't matter what the event is, but you need to be able to invite these people to events, and we teach you very simple ways to do these invites. It's more evidence, fewer words. That's, by the way, if you ever wondered how do I get a supermodel to message you back, you send them evidence of a cool event that they're going to. Evidence, not flyers. Flyers are for promoters. Like a video, like a cool recap video of like the last Maxim party, and then like a photo of like all the girls that were at the Maxim party, and then you send them a very small message saying, we're throwing a Maxim party on this date, would you like to come? 2 sentences. More evidence, fewer words. You send that out to the 2,000 female influencers and the 200 people that you want to meet. And this could be, like I said, there's infinite number of events, and this is the part that blows people's mind. You don't have to go to the event. And she doesn't have to go to the event. The point is that you offered value and you opened a thread with that person. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. Some of them are going to start following you. A lot of them you're going to end up in their feed. And then when that happens, then the next time you go do this massive invite, this girl is going to come and be like, oh, I'm not sure if I want, wait, Lindsay Palis follows Dylan? Wait, what? Wait, hold on. Ty Lopez follows Dylan? Wait, what? Grant Cardone follows Dylan? Do you see what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And now it becomes a situation where now through mere exposure and pre-selection, now they're like more likely. So now, first time you got a 5% response rate, then you get a 10% response rate for the next event, then you get a 15% response rate, and it'll go up to about 50 is about the highest that you'll get. Unless you're talking about like the Playboy Mansion, the Maxim party, or like you've got free tickets to the Super Bowl. You're gonna get, the Waste Management Open will get like a higher response rate, something like that. And then the fourth thing is, of that group, then you find 6 girls, but you make them your friends. You're not trying to date them. You can, eventually you may date all of them, who knows. But the point is initially to make 6 female teammates and then to go to an event with 6 girls. That's the 4th step. Those are the first 4 steps of MOA. We teach you how to do those first 4 steps. As men to do that, that gets your foot in the door. We also teach leadership, and we also teach entrepreneurship in the course, but we need you to do something first, which is why it's called Men of Action. So the first 4 steps are do thing, do a thing, do a thing, do a thing, and then it's theory, 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 theory. Unfortunately, what most courses do is theory, 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 theory. Hey, do a thing if you feel like it. More theory, 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 theory. Don't do any improvement with your life. Cry, hug your friend, and go back to your mom's basement.
Yeah.
Right? That's how, I love Tony Robbins, but that's how most people who go to Tony Robbins seminars are like, I had such a good feeling at the end. No, not in my course. In my course, you will do this thing. You have to show me your workout. You have to show me your book list. You have to show me, well, we have this one thing where you have to talk your way into something. You have to talk your way, like there's like backstage at a thing. It could be a nightclub, it could be a conference, but you got to talk your way in there. You can't lie either.
It's like the sell me this pen version,
Yes,
right?
correct.
Yeah.
You have to talk. One of the things.
No, my buddy's right over there. Right?
One of the
That's
things to
thing.
graduate the course is you have to talk your way into something.
That's cool.
Yeah, that's one of the things that do. You have to show me your 6 female friends. You have to talk your way into something. You have to show me your book list. You have to show me your workout schedule, like things like that. It is.
So you're teaching them that you give them like a little test. Then you get them into action, right?
Yeah.
And then you test them, right? And you see where they're
So
at.
we have 3-hour calls per week, and it's massive accountability. We get on, like we have one guy who comes on there and he's like, it's very clear to me he's having a problem with his endocrine system. Like his body's producing massive amounts of estrogen. He clearly has low testosterone. It's never seen. The guy can't hold on any weight, just looks very sickly. And I said, hey man, can you go get your levels checked? And he goes, yeah, definitely, I'll get my levels checked. And then he starts telling me about this event he's gonna throw. And I'm like, have you fixed your Instagram? He goes, yeah, no, I'll fix it later. And I was like, it's not called step 1 because you're gonna do it later. And I've already asked you several times to get your levels checked. You don't even have to tell me what they are, but I need you to get them checked. He comes on a month later and he's like, yeah, blah, blah, blah. I was like, okay, one more time. Have you fixed your Instagram? Have you got your levels checked? He goes, no and no. I go, okay, so here's the thing. And I asked there's 100 guys on the call. 100 guys, agree, put 1 in the chat if you agree with me. Dude, you're not gonna ask any more questions on this call until you get those 2 things done. We are holding you accountable to take action. If you do not take action, you are not going to move forward in this course. Remember, he's paying me. And I'm telling him, dude, I don't give a fuck about your money. You will complete these steps or we will not go forward. This is not your typical self-help course. We are not going to let you fall behind, and we do not accept people saying, yeah, I'll do that later. Then go do some other fucking course, because in this course, you're going to take action. I am looking for the Navy SEALs and the Marines. That's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for people who want to change their life as it is a function of life and death. They would rather die than be the same. Those are the individuals, and that's why it's worked out so well for me. Because what happens is you'll join this course, and you'll see other people that are like, holy fuck, these guys are motivated. I better be motivated too. And it'll force you to do things to change your life.
Cool, man. Love it. We'll drop a link.
Okay, for sure. No, I'll give you an affiliate code too if you want.
Yeah, cool, dude. No, it sounds awesome. I love it, and I love the structure you have. I've got some free programs on my end too, that like intro products that people come through, and sometimes those are the most valuable because it helps people. You're familiar with MLMs, like network marketing?
Yeah, of course,
dude. I'm not a big fan.
Yeah. Except
for the aspect of it that it takes people and it actually gives them a foundation to change their life.
Yeah, for sure.
And that's what that's what you're doing.
Yeah, for sure.
So, do people have you ever had someone now who was the big person the last year that was like everyone was talking about? Andrew Tate.
Yeah, I mean, Andrew messaged me a little over a year ago. He started messaging me and saying, hey man, I want to come on your podcast. He wasn't that famous. I mean, this is before. He's the most famous person in the world last August.
Yeah. He accelerated his growth curve.
Yes.
Like if you look on Google Trends.
This is like the previous September to that August. He and I start messaging on social media, on Instagram. We go back and forth. And I remember messaging, Dan Bilzerian asked me to come over and play paintball at his house one day. Bilzerian's house. Bilzerian lives here in Vegas. And so I go to his house, and on the way over, or before I go over there, I'm like, hey man, I was just wondering, have you heard of Andrew Tate? And he had never heard of Andrew Tate at this point. And I was like, yeah, he's doing this thing. They run like a cam house in Romania, blah, blah, blah. He said, oh, that's really interesting, whatever. But he had no idea who he was. And then Andrew would ask me about Bilzerian, and I would be like, hey, I just want to let you know, blah, blah. I'm not going to tell you exactly what I said because they're both my friends. But we would go back and forth, and we would have these conversations. Then I had planned then Andrew and Dan became connected without me. Like they just became connected on their own. They met on Instagram. Then Andrew told me, he's like, I'm not coming to the States. It's like, I'm sorry, I'm just, for whatever reason, I don't know why. He's like, I'm not coming to the US. I was like, okay, cool. And then he he said, I can't come, but I have a buddy named Justin Waller, who's one of my business partners. Can you interview him? So I interview Justin. Me and Justin become really good friends. Justin's from Louisiana. I'm from Texas. And then Justin goes and does Rollo Tomasi's show. And then Rollo sees my stuff. He goes, okay, I want to come and do your podcast too. So Rollo does my podcast. Immediately we hit it off and we started a show together. So I'm doing a show with Rollo Tomasi because Andrew Tate introduced us. That's essentially what's going on. As far as the Andrew Tate, the question people need to ask themselves is, why did he grow so fast? And I don't mean like what technique did he use. What I mean is, what void was there that allowed somebody to become that prevalent so quickly? When someone becomes that popular, that means someone's need wasn't being met. Do you understand? When something becomes that popular, that means there was a group of people that did not feel they were being heard. The 2008 election with Barack Obama, African Americans came out and voted in record numbers, and 95% of African Americans who voted for Barack Obama. During the 2016 election with Donald Trump got like coal manufacturers and coal miners in West Virginia felt like they weren't being heard, and they voted for Donald Trump in record numbers. He found a group of people that were not being heard, and then once they were being heard, they acted in mass. Andrew Tate did the same thing. Who are those men? Remember I said a third of men under the age of 30 are having no sex? Mm-hmm. Remember those guys? The problem is the other side, like especially like the left or certain feminists are like, well, they don't matter. I'm like, okay, that's fine that you don't think they matter, but they can still vote. They still have some money.
Right.
They still can take some action.
They can get you banned on social media.
For sure. So where did you think these men came from? And then they see Andrew Tate and they're surprised. I'm like, no, there was this huge group of men you just forgot. You know, like most women, when there's a guy behind the cash register at Walmart, and he's like a 5'5" Hispanic guy or Filipino, women don't look at him and say he's ugly. Women don't even fucking see him. They don't even see that he exists. These men were just being completely and totally ignored in their family, in education, with their job, and with their dating. They were completely being ignored. And then a guy comes out there and be like, hey, you know what? I think it's okay to be masculine. Now, he said some things I would have never repeated. I'm never going to say
Don't even say it.
Yeah. My mother's no one's property, right? Stuff like that. Like, there's something he said that especially once he started making like $1 million a month from War Room, I would have taken a lot of the stuff he was doing. If I had been his lawyer, I would have been like, hey man, some of these course stuff that you say, you got to get rid of this. I'm not going to tell you I'm like close friends with Andrew. I don't know him that well. But what I do know is that as an orator, he was probably the best communicator. In a short amount of time, he was the best communicator I'd ever seen of communicating a certain idea. And the more you listen to him, the less radical he sounded. The less you listen to him, the shorter versions you listen to him, the more radical he sounded. And
which is the perfect combination.
It was the perfect combination. Every interview he did was the highest rated interview on whatever that channel was, right? He would break the net record for Nelk Boys, or he'd break the record for, what's the guy's name in England? Pierce Morgan. He'd get higher numbers than Kanye, right? And this guy wasn't even famous 6 months ago. The question you need to ask, because I don't know, I know he's under arrest now. I don't know if he's guilty or innocent. What I do know is that the people who don't like him need to ask yourself the question, why does he exist? Is it because all men are just misogynists? Is that why? Is that the simple, reductive answer, that men are just stupid, troglodyte misogynists? Or was there a group of men that nobody was listening to?
And if you watch his content, he's operating from this level of like anger and like antagonism, where he's communicating in this really interesting way. Yeah. And it's like, but the majority of the world operates from that place.
Yeah.
They're in this like frustrated, anger way, and so he's speaking to them in that way that they're like, I haven't been spoken to this, right?
Yeah.
And so that's the other thing, is like people either hate it or they gravitate to it because it's resonating with how they feel.
He gave the example of the Matrix. He consistently used the term the Matrix. It's very easy for people to understand.
Yeah.
You are the way you are because the Matrix wants you this way. But he didn't blame the Matrix. He's like, I just learned the rules of the Matrix, and that's why I'm rich. I just learned these rules of the Matrix. Now, do I agree with that analogy? Again, I said at the very beginning of this interview, I do not believe that people trying to hold you down is a function of some nefarious conspiratorial act. I think it's just negligence. I just think it's just a function of negligence. Like negligence in our education system. I don't know how to balance a checkbook. I don't know how to invest in stocks. I don't know how to invest in real estate. I don't know how to do anything really useful for my life whatsoever. My education system taught me none of this. That's just negligence. It's not deliberate malfeasance. It's just negligence. Like no one cared enough to change society enough to where men could improve to where they would remain useful. And what's happened is society has made several, not all, but a lot of men very not useful. I was listening to Chris Williamson ask Richard Reeves, unironically, what are men good for anymore? And I was like, motherfucker, if the Chinese invade, you're gonna know what men are good for very quickly. The next day, you will very quickly understand what men are good for. It was one of these crazy things where, again, I am fully in favor of, people who are oppressed classes getting the ability to have equal opportunity as far as employment. I'm all for that. As far as making money, I'm all for that. But the thing is, we also have to pay the consequences when we start making one socioeconomic class basically useless. You see? And then we have a group of women that are like, well, these men are not good enough. Why not? Well, because Tyga slid into my DMs. Therefore, Tyga or bust. I'm going to get a guy who's that rich.
Leo or bust.
Leo or bust. Yeah. And so that's where we are now. And repeatedly, like, it's so funny because I rarely have women disagree with that concept. They're like, yeah, no, I'm not going to date a guy who's 5'11". They're like, literally will say that out loud. Now, of course they will. If you stimulate them enough and you validate what they want, they'll be with a guy who's 5'6". But when you ask them what they want, they'll always say these same things, right? They'll always make these same statements about what they're interested in. And repeatedly, every week I have 6 different girls or every 2 weeks I have 6 different girls on my show, and we ask them the same questions. And you'd think they'd learn after a while. They don't. None of them do. They don't care. They still think the average man makes $200,000 a year. They still think the average man is 6'1". They still think most men are not obese. 75% of people in this country are obese. Like, they still think that this is not an issue. And when you ask them these questions, bro, they don't know what to do. Like, they're so shocked. I'm like, okay, a man makes $70,000 a year and he's 5'10", right? And he's not married and he's not obese and he's between the ages of 25 and 45. 1.5% of men. And they're like, what? That's 1.5% of men. And then we do the opposite. I was like, okay, we don't care how much a girl makes, but she's between this height, this age and this age. No kids, never married. 14% of women. So me as the 1.5% of men, I have to choose from 14% of women, and all those 14% of women have to all compete for me. And so what happens at the top is there's all these women competing for these very few guys. I've been to Bilzerian's house. I've seen these women, like, they're competing for like access to this small group of men, to Leonardo DiCaprio and Machine Gun Kelly and all these guys. And then there's this massive group of men that are totally and completely left behind.
Dude, my most commented hate comment on my social media is, damn, Leonardo really let himself go. Dude,
That's crazy.
Yeah, I had a poor fitness year last year, worst of my life. So optimizing that. So
yeah,
then I'll look like Leo again, and I'll be back on track.
There you go. Just go get the Leo stuff. The thing is, for me, the most common one is all those girls that are in your photos and videos are either prostitutes or you paid them to be in them. And of course, I'll say this now. I'll say this every time.
It's both.
I'll give $20,000 to anyone who could find a single girl who's ever been paid to come to any of my events, and I'll pay $20,000 to anyone who could find any girl that I've ever paid to be in a photo or video, unequivocally. And they're all tagged. Like, it's not like I'm hiding them. They're all on my Instagram. You can message hundreds of them, and you'll find that's never been the case. And then the other problem is, for men with very little experience with women, model is over here, and then party girl is over here, and they think they're the same thing. Because model has small waist and big fake breasts, and party girl has a small waist and big fake breasts, they think they're the same girl. So when they see a pretty girl with me, they're like, that's a slut. I'm like, no, that girl gets up at 7 a.m., she's training to be a fitness professional, and she's also a real estate agent on the side. But their brains don't work that way. They're like, no, she's attractive, therefore she is a slut. And that's another, but that's generally men who have just no experience with women whatsoever, or very little experience with women. They say that repeatedly, and so that's the number one criticism I get.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Dude, so it's been fun. I got a little thing here. So the last guest I had on wrote a question for you.
Okay.
They didn't know who you were,
really?
What you did, yeah. And so I'm going to read the question, and then you're going to write one for the next guest.
Oh, incredible.
So, yeah.
This is amazing when the Egyptians made this book.
Dude, this book came out of a temple.
Yeah, for sure, man.
So.
Holy crap, that's amazing. What a cool book.
Yeah, thanks, man. Appreciate it. What would the 5-year-old version of you tell you what you need to do?
A lot of what I did. The 5-year-old version of me was like to play Madden, and I started playing pro Madden for a little while. I don't know. The 5-year-old version of me would probably have wanted to be an astronaut or something like that. I didn't quite make it. I was an Air Force aviator, but I didn't quite make it to be an astronaut. I don't know. The 5-year-old version of me was into Transformers. I don't know. Maybe the 20-year-old version of me might have had some cool things to say, but not the 5-year-old version.
Would your 5-year-old version be impressed or excited about this?
Definitely, I think he'd be impressed. Yeah, for sure. There's very little. It's really funny. From 35 to 45, very little changed mentally for me. From 21 to 35, everything changed. Everything changed. This is why, my girlfriend now, she's in her early 20s, and we have these discussions about things that I'm like, babe, in 10 years you are not going to think any of these things. But you don't want to listen to anyone. And then she's like trying to get me to change, and I'm like, honey, I'm 45 years old. Like, you think you're going to get me to change? Like, I just don't understand. Like, why do you think this is going to happen? You don't understand? Like, I was very happy. Like, she's amazing. She's flying in a couple hours. But like, I try to explain to her, like, I'm a monolith at this point. Like, this is who I am. Like, the only thing that I change is anything to help me succeed. I'll change any of that. I'm a whore to whatever works. And I tend to work better with people who understand that concept. People who want to sit in their feelings and just do things because they feel organic or authentic. Those people, it's really great to do that when you're already rich and famous. But beforehand, one of the things, I love Gary Vaynerchuk. Nothing but respect for him. One of the things that annoys the shit out of me about him is when people come up to him and he goes, yeah, man, you don't want to make those videos for likes and comments. You want to make them because they're authentic to you. And I'm like, dude, you have 10 million followers on Instagram. You used to cuss like crazy on your videos and talk about wild, crazy shit. And you're telling this woman to not do the thing that you literally did to get famous. You understand what I'm saying? Authenticity is super great. And trust your feelings. Go with your heart. If you want to be broken alone, trust your feelings. If you want to be rich, you want to be wealthy and successful, fuck your feelings. Solve someone else's problem. Do you think Wayne Huizenga woke up one morning and was like, you know what I want to do? I'm going to start a company called Waste Management. And we're just going to clean shit out of porta potties. And we're going to take big fucking dumps of human feces and put them into landfills because this is my passion. My passion is to clean people's shit. Do you think that's what he did? No, but he made $1 billion off it. You want to know why? Because he was solving someone else's problem. Elon Musk said, you will be paid in linear proportion to the complexity of the problem you solve. Right? So that's the same thing. Solve someone else's problem. People who like want to live in this world is like, no, it's not me. I'm kind of introverted and chill. I don't want to do social media. That's fine. You don't have to. But don't tell me you're competing. And don't tell me you have a chance, because you don't. If you try to run a business right now and you're like, yeah, I want to run a business, but I don't want to use social media. Dan Fleischman had one panel up there, and there was these guys that were like ridiculing social media. It's like, oh, you don't have to do this. My whole business is B2B. I'm like, yeah, when did you start your business? 1993. Really? 1993, huh? So you started your business before there was social media. If you started something right now, if you had some kind of program or product that was B2C and you're not using social media, you're shooting yourself in the dick. Sorry, that's what you're doing. That is so ridiculous. And people like, well, no, it doesn't feel authentic. Cool, then what will feel authentic is you being broken alone. That's what will feel authentic. It's just so crazy. And like the people who grasp that concept that I just said, they do really well in my program. The people that are just trying to hold on to like 1992, they don't do well in my program.
Dude, this has been fun. We'll drop links to your program below.
For sure.
Any other way to contact you? What's the best?
Man, I prefer you guys hit me up on Instagram. I know, I don't like emails. My team, they do email blasts, and I'm like, oh God, people still read emails. I don't read emails. I try not to ever. I think it's a waste. I don't check my mail. It's 2023, dude. People you want to hit me up, DM me. That's what normal people do. You want to know how people get other people on podcasts? They don't Joe Rogan has people reach out on social media. They're not emailing each other. We're living in a different world. I would recommend you guys just hit me up on Instagram at Michael Sartain. If you don't have an Instagram, it's time to get one.
What's your fax number?
Exactly. That's what, send me a letter at this address, this P.O. box. It's just, I get it. I understand that people still live. So I get a lot of older clients that are in their 50s and they're like, well, yeah, man, I've got my Facebook tuned in.
Yeah,
I'm like, your Facebook?
Yeah. Dude, I don't check Facebook.
Facebook? And there's people listening right now who's like, well, I'm on Facebook. Facebook is great for your grandma, but because your grandma's on Facebook, that's why you don't need to be on Facebook anymore. That's the point. And it's just so hard because people just don't want to change. Man, I am a whore to what works. And if you're a whore to what works and all you care about is creating generational wealth for you and your family, and you don't care about anything else, and you understand that networking is a way for you to do that, if all you want to do is find the woman of your dreams or find the job of your dreams, join my course. If you don't like being yelled at, don't join my course. If you think that going through U.S. military boot camp is something that you would find offensive, do not join my course, because you are going to get yelled at. And it's not just by me. We accept results. We are not interested in your feelings. We're interested in you taking action. And some people need a kick in the ass like that, and those people do really well in my program.
Good stuff, man.
Yep.
Good. Thanks for coming on.
Okay, beautiful, man. It's fun.
Dude, yeah, that's good times.
Awesome.